Hello my fellow Indonesians, and welcome to the final daily debrief because I have been discharged. Alrighty, now I have a lovely folder full of lots and lots of papers. However, here is the one drawing that I did. It's from All Time Lows, Missing You. The line is, "Don't lose your fight, kid, only takes a little push to pull on through." And you might have noticed that there are no sheets or blankets or anything on my bed. I am doing the laundry because I am a semi-functioning adult. There was a fire drill at Anxiety School, and unlike most fire drills where the alarm goes off and then everybody exits the building, we were in the middle of open group, or not the middle, I suppose we had sort of just started, we were maybe 10 minutes in, and they came over the speaker and they said, "Attention, this is a fire drill, please exit the building." It's like, huh, a very polite fire drill. I got pulled out to talk to the psychiatrist to refill meds, which I did, and I talked to my program therapist, and I got discharge papers. I had to fill out a survey thing. They gave me this lovely packet that you get when you get discharged that sort of gives you, oh, I can read it to you. It gives you, I haven't actually opened this, maybe I should have. It gives you self-care tips for mind, body, and spirit. It gives you quick skills references for managing distress and anxiety and relationships and changing or decreasing an emotion. It gives you a plan for if you feel like self-harming. It gives you mindfulness resources, yoga stuff, local therapy places, free local support groups, suggested readings. I read things. I'm currently reading a book called Status Anxiety. That's a fun one. And then it gives you mental health apps on the back. I got my clearance letter to go back to school, so that is nice. Friday's theme is distress tolerance. So I wrote down that as adults we need to put ourselves in timeout sometimes. You shouldn't dump gasoline on the fire. You have to use a coping skill more than once. It's not just a one and done type thing. You have to continuously seek to use them. The way that it sticks is when they do it for themselves. Maybe I should have written context for that. So I suppose I should just sort of talk about what I got out of the program, maybe. I'm still very scared to go back to school. I am scared. I'm scared. I don't know. I'm trying to differentiate between being scared, being anxious. Because I do get anxious a lot, and I am anxious about school, but I'm also scared. I'm not just anxious, which is something that I think I have to take more note of, that the anxiety isn't the only thing that scares me or that runs my life. I don't want it to run my life. I'm working on that. Clearly, that's what I went to this program for. It's really strange because the first week I was there, I observed a lot and I watched people and I listened to them and I heard them tell their stories and I heard their growth and their setbacks and their thoughts and feelings and desires. And I never really shared any of mine. I mainly just gave feedback. However, on the last day, you can get well wishes from people. And there were maybe 12 people in my group for the last day because a few new people had come. And when you get together in the last group of the day for the yoga group, when all 20 or so people are back together, you can get well wishes. And one of the therapists came over to me and asked, "Do you want well wishes?" And I said, "I suppose." Because I'm always nervous around compliments, or just around getting feedback in a way. I like constructive feedback when I write pieces or when I'm playing something. I like feedback. I like hearing what I've done wrong so I know what I can work on. But it's very strange to me to receive positive feedback. I guess maybe because I don't receive it that often, so it makes me uncomfortable. And about 6 people gave me well wishes, and that blew me away. And the first person who said something, she was relatively new to the group, and she told me that I was wise, that I am young, but I am wise, and that I have things to say. And when I say them, people listen. Because most of the time I would be quiet in group, and I would be drawing, and I would be listening. But whenever I would speak, people would listen. And apparently they liked what I had to say, because another person raised their hand and said, "Can I second that?" And someone else said, "Can I third that? Is that a thing?" And I realized that while I may not have been speaking a lot, I was making an impact on people's lives. And I think that's something that I want to do. I like helping people. And I think through helping people, I can learn to help myself. And I'm not really sure how yet. I'm still working on it. But I like helping others. I like telling them things that might work, that might assist them in their goal, might get them a little further along. I like to say things that I have tried, whether or not they've worked or not, because they might work for somebody else. And they appreciated that. And I would make it my goal to speak in group, but I realized I don't have to speak about myself. Yes, if I want to receive feedback for my specific scenario, I will have to talk and give context, but it's okay to give general feedback and use that and sculpt it to what you need. If you get a box of colored pencils, you can draw a million different things with them. It's not just feedback for one situation that will only work one time. You can use these skills and shape them to how you need them. And I guess I got something out of the program because I've never done group therapy before, and you always learn something when you try something new. And yes, I was terrified most of the time. I was there. I was always pacing the hallways, listening to music, listening to books, drawing. But in the last few days, I spoke to a few people one-on-one. And one of the people that gave me well wishes was someone who had come in that day. And all that happened was she had put her yoga mat next to mine, and we talked a little bit. And now the first 2 weeks, I hardly spoke to anybody when we were sitting on our yoga mats because I was so concerned with being in my head. But I realized that every interaction you have makes an impact. And it's up to you to decide how you're gonna work with that. Are you gonna try and make positive impacts? Because everything you do changes something. And it might not always be a big change, but big changes come from little things. And so I think that while I am still scared to go back to school, and I know there's going to be situations that give me a lot of anxiety, like when I'm in class, when I go to chapel, and even just trying to talk to the people who I used to talk with every day without problems, that will cause me anxiety. But it's up to me of how I use that. I can stay in my room and hide, or I can try and do something. And that's kind of really scary. But the world is what you make of it. I always thought, what does the world want from me? But I realize it's not what does the world want from me, it's more what can I do for the world. Because everybody says it's like the butterfly effect. A butterfly can start a hurricane or whatever it is. You have to get something in motion, even if that motion just starts with yourself. So yes, this is my final daily debrief. I think I've come a distance. Might not be a far distance, but I've come some sort of distance since the first day I walked in and refused to speak. I may have only spoken a handful of times, but people listened and I was able to make an impact, and I am able to recognize that I made an impact. So that's all I have to say. I think if you are wondering whether a partial hospitalization program or an intensive outpatient program will be useful for you, look into it. If it terrifies you, that's okay, because I was so scared, so terrified, so anxious, basically this entire time. And I feel like I still went somewhere. Not sure where I've gone, but it's sort of up to me to decide where I go from here. So look into things. If you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed this series, please give it a thumbs up. You can go back and look at my past videos from this partial hospitalization program to see my journey through anxiety school. Please leave comments below if you have questions and I will try to answer them. And as always, thanks for watching.